welcome back to the channel. My name is Elena, my sister Erin is editing the video, and today I am so excited because I am going to be talking all about my favorites. I'm going to do a full face of all of my favorite makeup products, and I'm going to end up with this gorgeous, dramatic, glittery halo eye. And I'm also going to tell you what order to read my all-time favorite fantasy mega series, Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere, of course. I absolutely love this series. I cannot stop talking about it, as my family and friends will attest. I try to get everyone that I meet to read these books because they really are that good. And there are a lot of books in this series. So in this video, I'm going to give you my recommended reading order to get through every Cosmere book with the highest amount of payoff and Easter eggs. So without further ado, let me zoom you in and let's get into it. Okay, favorite books, favorite makeup. This is gonna be good. I'm starting off with my favorite eyeshadow primer, which right now is the Rare Beauty Eye Primer. I also really like the Fenty one, but I don't currently have it in my collection. So, first things first, what is the Cosmere? It's a fantasy universe created by Brandon Sanderson. Multiple epic fantasy series take place in the Cosmere universe, but on different planets. There are world hoppers that pop up in multiple series and planets, and there's also like a billion Easter eggs to look for, which makes it so much fun to read when you see characters from your other favorite series popping up in a new one. I'm now using my favorite under eye corrector, which is the LA Girl Pro Conceal. This is like a peachy concealer, and I think this does the best job at covering up my dark under eyes. So there's a ton of different ways that you can read the Cosmere, and there's a ton of books that are in the Cosmere. So if you Google it, there are lots of other recommended reading orders, but this is the reading order that I personally recommend if you don't know where to start, but you want to really deep dive into the Cosmere. So my favorite foundation is the Dior Forever Skin Glow foundation. I wear the shade 2N. Here's the bottle, gorgeous. I'm just taking a pump on the back of my hand, and I'll use my beauty blender to blend it into my face. I may end up using a second pump, but I'd prefer to just start with lower coverage, and if I need more, add more. So the best place to start in the Cosmere, by far, in my opinion, is Mistborn. Mistborn Era 1. The first book is called The Final Empire. It's ridiculously good. Erin just read it. It will get you hooked on Brandon Sanderson's world building and writing style. And personally, I freaking love a super overpowered girl main character. And that's what you get in Mistborn. So I recommend crushing all 3 books in Mistborn Era 1 straight away. And I'm going in with a second pump of the Dior foundation. And once you finish the 3 books in Mistborn Era 1, you can reward yourself with a novella, The 11th Metal. It can be found in a collection called The Arcanum Unbounded, which is like a collection of Cosmere short stories that Brandon Sanderson wrote. You don't want to just read the whole thing straight through. I'll tell you in this video at what point I recommend reading each novella or short story. The 11th Metal, reading it right after you finish Mistborn Era 1, it's gonna get you right in the feels. All right, I'm gonna set my eyes and under eyes with the Rimmel Stay Matte Powder in the shade 4, Sandstorm. My favorite way to set my eyes and get them ready for eyeshadow. And as you probably saw in the intro, we're gonna be doing quite a bit of eyeshadow. If I could just wear a crazy, smoky, glittery eye every day, I would. All right, I'm gonna do my eyeshadow with one of my favorite palettes, which is this stunning McGrath palette. This was the holiday palette last year. It's called Celestial Nirvana, and it is a Mothership Mega palette. And I got this at TJ Maxx for seriously like $35. And look at these colors. But I will say, another one of my all-time favorite palettes, I want to recommend this one because it's affordable and it is freaking amazing. This is a Moira palette called I'm Falling For You. You can order Moira online. They also have a really good app. And their eyeshadow formula is seriously amazing. Look at this palette. These shimmers are duochromy and so pigmented, so reflective, just gorgeous. Definitely another one of my all-time favorite palettes. But for today, I want to do a really dramatic look with this Pat McGrath palette. So let's get into it while I tell you about the next thing you're going to read in your Cosmere order. I'm starting with this as my transition shade. Next, I'm going to recommend White Sand, which is a graphic novel series. And if you're not into graphic novels, you honestly don't have to read this, okay? But if you're super hardcore about Cosmere and want to read every Cosmere book, this is the point where I would recommend knocking this out. I quite liked it. I like graphic novels, but I know that not everybody is into them, so you know, you do you. Chronologically, this book is set earlier than any other Cosmere novel, so it makes sense to read it early on, in my opinion. It doesn't have a lot of references, but it has characters that will show up later in other series, so the payoff is worth it, in my opinion. Alright, I'm just blending that through the crease. So for this halo eye, I'm going to take that more bluey purple in the palette and pack that on the outer and inner corners of the lid. Next, you should read Elantris. I love Elantris. This is Brandon Sanderson's debut novel, and a lot of people say it's his weakest, but even his weakest writing is still leagues above what the average fantasy writer is putting out. Sorry, not sorry, I'm just saying, it's the truth. It's very romantic and magical and incredibly unique, with such a cool magic system, and it has like a bit of a spooky element. I think it would be a good fall read. It's romantic, but there is sort of a zombie element going on here. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't want to spoil anything. So you can see I'm kind of messily packing this on the inner and outer corner of my lid. It doesn't have to be real precise because it's gonna get blended a bajillion million times with all the colors I'm gonna be putting on top. One thing I love about this palette is it is just so easy. It blends itself. It's just hard to mess up, even with a crazy, colorful, dramatic look like the one I'm doing. In fact, I'm gonna zoom you in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so you can see I have the start of my halo eye going. I'm gonna deepen it up with the navy blue in this palette. Taking that navy blue right over top of the purple. Again, very messy at first because we'll blend it. After you read Elantris, read The Hope of Elantris, which is a short story in Arcanum Unbounded. It picks up right at the end of the events of Elantris, and it'll just give you a little bit of closure after reading Elantris. You can see I'm just blending out that navy blue into the purples. Kind of connecting it here in my crease, but I'm leaving some blank space. Okay, time for one of my all-time faves in the Cosmere universe, and that is the short story, well, and that is the novella, The Emperor's Soul. This novella has won a ton of awards. It's so, so good. I've read it multiple times, and every time I love it even more. It's action-packed and fascinating. It takes place on the same planet as Elantris. That's why I recommend reading it right after Elantris. But it's on a different continent, and it uses the planet's magic in an entirely new way. All right, just a whole mess of color. Now I'm taking the aqua blue from the palette, and I'm going to put that on either side of my iris, leaving an even smaller blank space in the middle. I'm really packing this shade on. So there will be major payoff from reading The Emperor's Soul later in the Cosmere, but once you finish that, you're ready to jump into the big boy, the Stormlight Archives. The Stormlight Archives are an epic fantasy series many people consider to be Sanderson's best work. Personally, I like Mistborn Era 1 a tiny bit more, but I totally get why people say that about Stormlight, and it's not completely finished yet, so maybe by the end it will overtake Mistborn for me. And if you are worried about starting a series that isn't complete yet, which I totally understand, just know Brandon Sanderson is like a writing machine. He cranks out these stories. He's currently writing the 5th Stormlight Archives book, and trust me when I say you will not have long to wait. He cranks out these books. I'm just blending the edges of that aqua blue into the purple and the navy. And now I'm going to take the lavender color in this palette, and using my finger, I'm going to press that into the very center of my lid. So yeah, go ahead and read the first Stormlight Archives book, which is called The Way of Kings. You're gonna love it, you're gonna be hooked. And these Stormlight books are like 1,000+ pages, so my personal recommended reading order kind of breaks it up with other Cosmere series and standalones in between. Now, that's not strictly necessary. You don't have to split it up the way I'm going to suggest, but no matter what, I absolutely recommend definitely read Warbreaker before you read the second Stormlight Archives book. Warbreaker is another standalone. It's even better than Elantris. It is romantic. There's 2 sisters. It has an amazing magic system. I guess that's kind of par for the course at this point. And you can see now I have this gorgeous, colorful, smoky eye. I will zoom you back out now so I can work on the rest of my face. Okay, it's bugging me that my brows aren't done, but I want to get my contour in so it blends out nicely before I do my brows. And I'm so excited to open this with you guys today. It's a brand new stick of the Fenty Matchstick in the shade Amber. This is my perfect contour shade. I freaking love this product so much. It's really fun to just draw on the face. And I've already used up an entire stick of this. And this one's brand new. Look at it. Yeah, gorgeous. So I'm going to use that to add some dimension to my face. All right, time for another short story. This one has a long name. It is Shadows for Silence in the Forest of Hell. Real cheerful sounding. This is like a pretty spooky novella. It's from the Arcanum Unbounded, again. The references are minor, but it's a short read. You can technically read this at any point, but after Warbreaker and the first Stormlight Archives book is where I would recommend it. Let's blend that out. So next for blush, to go with this purpley blue eye look, I decided to go with this, which is the Rare Beauty Liquid Blush. It's so popular and it's so good. I just love these blushes. Every shade is gorgeous. I'm going to use 2 shades today. This is the shade Faith. It's like a dark berry color, and I'm going to combine it with this little tiny itty bitty sample of Rare Beauty Liquid Blush in the shade Encourage. This stuff is famously very pigmented, so you want to put down just a few dots and blend them out quickly before moving on to the other side. I'll show you exactly how I do that. And then like 2 of that shade. And I have the Rare Beauty brush that is recommended for the liquid blush, and this is the best brush for this type of super pigmented formula. Okay, it's back to the Stormlight Archives with Book 2, Words of Radiance. I absolutely love this book, and you will really start to see the payoff of the other Cosmere books you've read by the time you get to this one. There is an appearance from a character that's from a different Cosmere planet in Words of Radiance that had me actually just screaming. I was so freaking excited when this character showed up. So like I said, the payoff is worth it. Now I'm just taking my beauty blender around this area to make sure the blush is nice and blended out and doesn't come too far in. You'll notice I actually didn't use any concealer. I didn't feel like I needed it, and none of my concealers are really my favorite product. I guess I do really like the NYX Bear With Me concealer, but it just didn't feel necessary to me today. And now I'm gonna powder the whole face with my favorite face powder, the Huda Beauty Baby Bake Loose Bake Baking and Setting Powder in the shade Pound Cake. I'm just picking some up in the lid and then tapping it off. This powder is super blurring, just mattifying enough. I really like this powder. It always looks good. Works on top of any base product I use with it. Okay, in the Cosmere, it's time for another novella. And for my face, it's time for brows. My favorite brow product is the Rare Beauty Harmony Shape and Fill Duo. I have the shade light brown. It's a little bit too light for me, but it's gonna work out, and it's still my favorite. That's how much I love this formula, even though it's not quite the right shade. But by combining both colors, it kind of works. You'll see. So you're reading the short story Edge Dancer. It's so good. Oh my God. Okay, are you tired of me saying that? Probably. This is a Stormlight short story, so it focuses on a Stormlight character that is one of my favorite characters. She is so funny. This book had me cracking up. And it's just a novella, so a short read. Now you totally could go back to the Stormlight archives after Edge Dancer and keep reading those, but personally I prefer to space them out. Because like I said, they're really long. So my recommendation is to start with Mistborn Era 2 at this point. Yes, there's a second era. Apparently there's eventually going to be 3, which has me so excited just thinking about it. And if you're anything like me, at first I was like, Mistborn Era 2, I don't know. I really liked Era 1. There's no way it could be improved upon. And I'm not going to say Mistborn Era 2 is better. It's not better, but it's different while still feeling familiar. And frankly, I loved it. I know the covers make it look like a bunch of westerns, but it's definitely still a fantasy series. And I'm brushing this out with a spoolie. And I'm going to add a little extra definition to my brows with the NYX Brow Tint pen, the Lift and Snatch pen. I have the shade Ash Brown, and this will take my brows in a little bit of a cooler direction, which is needed after the slightly too warm Rare Beauty powder, but I just love this combo. So yeah, jump into Mistborn Era 2, starting with the first 2, Alloy of Law and Shadows of Self. On my lower lash line, I'm going to repeat the exact same process that I did on the top, just more concentrated. So starting with that pinky purple, and I'm making sure to really connect to this at the outer corner with the top. I'm blending this a little further down. All right, Mistborn Era 2, you're halfway through. Now, back to Stormlight. Read the 3rd Stormlight Archives book, which is Oathbringer. I am adding some bronzer, my favorite bronzer of all time, which is the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Bronzer in the shade Luminous Bronze Light. And another one of my favorites is this brush that I'm using to apply it. This is the MAC 143S. This was recommended by Julia Adams MUA, and it's a kind of expensive brush, but I'm so glad I picked it up because it's perfect for powder bronzer. And I'm going to take a little bit of highlight on my cheekbones now using the Auric Glow Lust in the shade Selenite. I love this stuff. I mean, these are all my favorites, so you know I love them. I also love using it all over the face as like a primer. It makes everything sitting on top of it look so glowy, your skin looks so healthy. But I'm just gonna use it as a highlight on the tops of my cheekbones today, right here. Sorry, I'm giving you the middle finger. And I'm just gonna take what's left over on my fingers on my Cupid's bow and right between my eyes. After the 3rd Stormlight Archives book, Oathbringer, you're going to move into a short story called 6th of the Dusk, and then the novella Dawnshard. Dawnshard will get you so hyped for the 4th Stormlight Archives book. Now, for my lashes, my favorite combo is first I use my lash curler, the Shiseido lash curler. Then I will use Benefit Bad Gal Bang to coat my lashes, and then to give them a little bit more length, I will top that off with Benefit Roller Lash. And I like to take my time on the mascara. Like, I'll take like 5 minutes just to do mascara. I always like to give a close-up at this stage because you can really see the eyeshadow before my lashes start covering some of it up. In fact, I'm just gonna take my brush and do another quick blend through the crease. I love these colors so much. Okay, now I'm gonna hit up the mascara. So then you just read Rhythm of War, which is the 4th Stormlight Archives book. And like I said, there's only 4 of them out so far. In fact, I still have not read Rhythm of War. I've read everything else on this list, but I haven't quite tackled the 4th Stormlight book because it's so long, but I'm so excited to get to it. I'm debating whether to do falsies, and I'm kind of thinking yes, because more is more. And don't worry, I'm not done with the Cosmere books. There's still a couple more to go over. I'm keeping the lower mascara light because I don't want to obscure all of the detail of the lower halo eye we did. There we go. I'm actually gonna put on more blush using my favorite powder blush, which is the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Blush in the shade Mood Exposure. Just gonna top everything off. And for the lips, I'm using Maybelline's Color Sensational Lip Liner in the shade Gone Greige. I really want the lipstick version of this. Can you get it on the Maybelline website, I wonder? I love this like plummy brown shade. And honestly, my favorite lipstick, or one of my favorite lipsticks, is Whirl by MAC. This is an oldie but a goodie. It's a brownie mauve shade. It doesn't super go with this eye, but it's fine. I'm gonna make it work. Woo! I love this look! Okay. Okay, I am gonna pop on some falsies, and my favorite falsies are the Ardell Demi Wispies. I like to get them in a big pack like this. It's more cost effective. Well, to be fair, I also really love the velour lashes. That's another lash favorite of mine, but I don't have any on hand that I think would work for this look, so Demi Wispies it is. I've covered all the main Cosmere books, but there are a couple wild cards for me to tell you about now, and those are the Secret Projects. The Secret Projects are 4 books that Brandon Sanderson wrote in secret over the pandemic because he must do nothing but write. Even though like I know he has like a podcast, he's a gamer, he has a family, and it seems like he likes them. I don't know how he does it. My God, he writes a lot of books. So he wrote 4 books that were all released this year. Now, one of these books is not a Cosmere novel, so you don't need to worry about that one unless you want to read it. So the other 3 are Cosmere novels, so you will want to read those, and you can read them at any point. They're all standalones. The first one is Tress of the Emerald Sea, which I freaking loved. It's amazing. It's so good. It's a little more lighthearted than the other Cosmere stories, and there's one world hopper in particular that features heavily in Tress of the Emerald Sea, which is really fun to see. Once you've read a couple other Cosmere stories, you'll definitely recognize this person. The other 2 secret projects I actually have not read, so I still have those and Rhythm of War before I'm caught up on every Cosmere book. And those are Yumi and the Nightmare Painter and The Sunlit Man. The Sunlit Man actually just came out. I cannot wait to read those. And that covers everything in the Cosmere. All right, the lashes are drying. Let's do some finishing touches. My favorite inner corner highlight is the NYX Ultimate Glow Shot in the shade Come Through Coconut. This is a blinding inner corner highlight with a little bit of a blue shift. I think it is so pretty. And my favorite lip gloss is by Half Magic Beauty. It is their Magic Drip Glitter Lip Gloss in the shade Frosty Bitch. Great name, great lip gloss, super glittery. It's gonna transform this matte lip. I mean, all right, thank you so much for watching. I had so much fun doing this look. This is just my kind of look. It's dark, it's glittery, it's colorful, all the things that I love. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like or leave a comment, subscribe to our channel, and for now, I'll see you in the next one.